links.
Last year, after spending nearly 10 years.
But yeah, this guy is a big.
Half of my life
Knew that he
Linus
left.
Media Group, the company behind channels like Linus Tech Tips, Short Circuit, Tech Quickie, and more. I decided it was time for a change.
Why I left Linus Tech
said my
Tips.
goodbyes and left the office and company I poured so much of myself, the entirety of my adult life, and many of my...
You can learn a lot here, I guess. Like cool to like spend a few years there, like learn how everything works and then leave.
My high school years into for the last time.
You can grow
Honestly,
a lot.
I had pretty much settled on not making this video. It's just been kind of a long time since I left.
Like you learn what camps they use, what setup they have, how they do stuff.
Prepared to talk about this. And to be frank, I still don't think I 100% am. But as my therapist likes to say, it's important to talk about your feelings. So why don't we do it? Working at LTT was my first real job. Bye, Arlo. One that I literally found on Craigslist and started when I was in high school, which meant that
application letter and the position. Please view the attachment. Thanks, Jake TV.
Literally found on Craigslist and started when I was in high school, which meant taking the bus for nearly 2 hours either way after school or on the weekend. But I didn't care. As a fan of the channel and so many other STEM channels, it was a dream job. And to say that it's been a massive part of my life, one that shaped a not insubstantial part of who I am, would be an understatement. In the early years, it was amazing. Sure, there were challenges, but when every day is a new adventure, it's easy to excuse a bit of hardship, given the thrill I got from it. I was originally hired as a general laborer, back when the channel had just over 2 million subscribers. Hilariously, it's a job title that didn't get updated on my pay stubs, I think probably for a year after it changed. But it didn't really matter, since while I did end up working on a bunch of different things,
general laborer
kind of guy, almost none of
that's kind of what I do. I feel like
it was what I was actually hired for.
Also a general laborer, a slave.
The warehouse, and while I did eventually make it through the giant mail pile, it would grow every day by more than I could usually get through. What I really ended up doing with my 16 or so hours a week was helping Linus with projects, like tearing down the original
16 hours a week. That's
one CPU build, which I think I did in my first week,
not
testing water blocks for
much
water
at all.
through the ages, and even water cooling a PS4. Admittedly, not very well, but it did at least work.
Why is it broken, Karen?
And the curiosity didn't stop there. I'd be lying if I said going down memory lane for this video didn't have me feeling like some kind of way. You just kind of forget about all the cool stuff you've done after you've been at it for so long. There was 16K gaming, 6 editors, 1 CPU, more than 1 crazy desk PC,
hey, that's cool.
A season of Secret Shopper, and of course, we even had an LTT Minecraft server. Over the years, I wore a lot of hats. So much so that it's what's written on my 5-year service award thing. I was the Arlo, are you just gonna have a nap in there? I was the logistics person before we had a logistics team, handled almost all of the IT infrastructure for the company, from around 20 people to, let's say, 80
That's
or so,
insane.
by myself for a lot
The
of it.
downfall
And
of Linus, Chat Tips.
Alex, Emily,
Hello,
and James
Tomka.
got hired on as the first writers for the
Yeah,
channel.
we are watching the downfall of Tomka next.
Graduated high school and became a full-time writer too, which I neglected to mention and then just started showing up every day.
You missed the react. We just watched it.
After a few years, I also ended up becoming the LTT writing team supervisor, helping the other writers with their projects, approving
From general everything guy to like writing team main guy.
Doing one-on-ones, running our weekly content meetings, all of that while also trying to make videos. And most of this is years before we even got to renovating Linus's house. It was a lot.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, they have these like house renovation videos, and they're like, okay, you come and you have to fix my house.
Honest, there was actually a point a few years ago where I almost quit as well, just purely because of the stress of trying to do both. But I made the decision to try going back to just writing, and I'm really glad I did, because looking back on all those years, I got to play with and learn about tech I never would have otherwise. I got to design and build servers that power more than one creator's YouTube production. I got to set a Guinness World Record with computers. Hell, I even got to put a silly wing on Pluscar alongside folks I've watched for years. And that's just the projects. I also got to meet so many incredible people, both creators and coworkers, many of whom I'm still fortunate to call friends.
No foursome.
Some who I even get to work with to this day. But most importantly, I had the opportunity and honor to share the things I learned and experienced with all of you. And hell, I even got to meet some of you at LTX, which was an absolute blast. It's something I don't take for granted, and at the time, I genuinely feared losing. So for everyone who's watching here on my own channel, thank you. And if you're new here, the most important thing I can probably bestow upon you in this video is that I have a ton of exciting stuff coming, whether it's building a data center in my house, kitting out my own studio hopefully, and who knows, maybe actually making car content at some point. If that sounds cool to you, why not get subscribed? And I would super appreciate it. So
380.
I guess Luke, since apparently he's the one that told them they should hire
He doubled his subs in 5 months.
me after I started pointing out like bad design decisions on the case I had to tear down in the technical interview, I wouldn't be where I am today had you not taken a chance on a silly 15-year-old. Thank you. Which is to say, leaving LMG was probably the hardest decision I've ever had to make. I think I said it best in a letter I sent to them a few days after handing in my resignation, which read, in part, sometimes you have to cut off the old... This is giving me chills already. Sometimes you have to cut off the old branches to make space for the new ones to grow. I just genuinely did not foresee the branch I'd be cutting off myself to be Linus Media Group. It's probably the biggest branch on my life tree at this point, and it took a lot of me, probably a larger piece than I'd like to admit, to start hacking away. But at some point, even after things are looking up, you have to start taking care of the rest of yourself and not just the parts you want people to see.
All right.
When you've been at a job for that long, it's natural for things to change. I changed. I mean, I started when I was 15 and ended when I was 25, so that makes sense. The people change, sometimes people leave, and of course the company's gonna change, especially as that company grew from around 10 people when I started to over 100 when I left. Back in the day, it felt like we all fought.
I didn't know that he was like 1 out of 10 guy.
Together, working as a team to share this thing we all held so dear to our little fragile nerd hearts with the rest of the world, and to inspire others that share that passion and to be proud of it. It was really cool, and it still is really cool. When I started working on videos, I got to have a hand in everything. The idea, conquering any engineering or technical challenges,
there are like
building the
things,
the
other
things,
employees that left, like
writing,
this guy too.
Co-hosting and working with the editors to deliver finished videos that so many of you watched. It's just that over time, it went from that to a constant, what can be delegated to someone else? Which in my case, where the videos I worked on were mostly based on things I wanted to learn about, it was really challenging to do. I didn't necessarily know how it was gonna go. It also meant that as soon as a shoot wrapped, the question turned to, well, who can finish this off? And that led to the projects feeling kind of incomplete, which, given how my ADHD brain works, meant that I got a feeling of maybe relief that something was finally over, instead of a feeling of accomplishment that I had achieved, learned, finished something. It just made it hard to feel proud of the work I was doing, especially since that work was being showed to the public. Combine that with the loss of team members you hope you work with forever, things naturally getting more corporate as headcount increased, going through major controversies more than once, resulting in processes and policies created in the span of a week that no one spent the time to ask if actually made sense later on. And slowly, the thing you signed up for changes into something completely different. And in my case, it started to turn this thing I loved into something I kind of despised. And I wasn't the only team member who felt like this, which I hated. And I also kind of hated that I hated that. I don't know. It's really hard to see something that you put so much into become something you don't really want to be a part of. So in the weeks and months before what ended up being my departure, I gave a specific list of ultimatums. Things I needed changed for this to still work for me, and things I knew that resonated with the rest of the team, so that if ultimately I didn't stick around.
Fix the personal contact policy couple days of around Christmas. Get up-to-date pay reference data.
it would still benefit them. And while I don't know exactly for sure what ended up changed, I do know that at least some of what I asked for was listened to. And to be clear, I'm not the only person who pushed for
I guess the
change,
Christmas
so this is
days,
by no means
they
me
did it.
taking credit. I just hope that for the current and next generation of LMG staff, that things continue to look upwards. And to Linus and Yvonne, guys, everyone knows you made sacrifices to get where you are. And to be able to support a team of this size, and there's a lot of things you guys did right. Just don't forget that many of those same people made massive sacrifices and braved many a storms on your behalf as well. Ultimately, it came to a head around feeling valued, and I'm far from the only person who felt that way. After 3+ years of my total comp remaining effectively the same, while affordability was getting worse and worse, especially in Vancouver, one of the least affordable areas to live in the world, you kind of start thinking while you're working on your boss's third house, if you're ever going to be able to buy a house. And for the record, I don't own this one, I'm just renting. So I started to take an earnest look at my worth. Something I procrastinated for years and ignored, really. I explored the revenue that the videos I produced generated. I applied for and fielded a few job offers. Think like infrastructure, IT kind of work. It would have been pretty different than making YouTube videos, but it would have been something new. And ultimately, LMG made the choice to not accept nor counter the amount I asked for, which it's perfectly within the right to do. The job market is one that's cutthroat by its very nature. And so, with the knowledge and skills I'd learned along the way, the support of my recently fired friends and my partner, and after just about giving my parents a heart attack in search of something better for my family, I quit. Throughout the many late night chats it took me to come to terms with the idea of leaving this thing, it was really all I knew, I was reminded of the term LMG lifer. It's what we used to call the OG team members. Back then, I thought it was pretty cool to work at a place where so many of the people thought they'd hang around forever, or even just for longer than they cared to plan for. It's something that, as silly as it seems now in retrospect, knowing how much people's lives change and having the perspective of an adult instead of a child, it was something that became part of my identity. But now that I've walked away from the only job I've ever really known, where the majority of my friends work, a place I'd like to think I had a pretty decently sized part in building, I was no longer a lifer, and that was kind of hard to come to terms with, at least that day. Fortunately, I had something to look forward to.
We're gonna blow Luke's back out right now. Shoulder!
Because that same night, I flew to Las Vegas, not to a new job, but to my very first DEF CON.
This Luke is a big guy. There is like a longer-haired, good-looking guy. That's like the main writer. That's an OG.
It was genuinely one of the coolest
There's like
things
a
I've ever been to,
blondish-haired
and not at
tall
all
guy.
scary like everyone makes it out to be. I even talked them into showing me how they run the network out of this tiny little room with almost all donated or facility equipment. It was super cool and great for taking your mind off of reality for a little bit.
My wrists are like dying.
And this is the guy that does the van show with Linus.
And also, I am sorry I didn't actually end up making a video with the footage I took. I just really didn't know what my plans actually were.
You figured it out without figuring it out. Yeah.
Since I quit, I didn't have severance to fall on. I had to do something else to support myself and the family. Fortunately, as some of you probably know, I'm kinda into finely depreciated European cars. Ones that are unfortunately expensive to fix and sometimes prone to breaking. Like this sick V10 M5 wagon that a customer of mine imported from Japan. Working on cars like that has always been more of a hobby for me and less of a job. But despite saying that, for many years I hustled my ass in and out of the shop
an old
on
video,
evenings and
holy.
weekends to support that hobby and save a bit of money for the rainy day like quitting your job, and of course, to feed my desire for knowledge.
Yeah, this is the blondish tall guy.
It's
The
just that
OG.
it wasn't really
I saw something like European German cars are good, but they need a lot of maintenance. So they are good if you like maintain them. It's a lot of like maintenance stuff. Japanese cars are a bit worse, but like much less maintenance. And there was something else that too. I remember
it's
this
fun
part
for
too.
me to
Only
learn about new stuff like that without getting to share it with somebody.
Japanese cars are
That, above
worse,
all else, is
but
what I really
don't need to
loved
maintain
about my
that
time
much.
at LMG. I got got to share anything I learned with all of you. So even
I
during
love
my
Japan.
final 2 weeks, I was already spending what little safety net I had required on lights, a microphone, a tripod, and a bunch of iPhones I really couldn't afford, with the hope that I could again share my passion for tech with all of you. And since people are gonna ask, yeah, all of this is a big part of why I had such an emotional reaction to clips from my channel being used in the How LMG Spends Money video that LTT released recently. I'll link to it in the description if you're interested, but it basically details the average comp across the entire team, talks about how they spend the revenue the company generates, shares some insight into
People are
Linus and Yvonne's take home
expensive.
as the sole shareholders of the company, and included a short segment at the end talking about past staff members' new ventures, and also included some footage of current staff members too. At the time, seeing myself and some of my friends talked about in a section about how proud they were of ex-LMGers, right after what felt like Linus justifying the issues so many of them and myself had been raising for years with, "'cause capitalism?" It just felt kind of backhanded, and it did make me really upset. Add in that people were misinterpreting it, and the fact that no one asked me for permission to use the clips, or
I don't know
if
who is
even
this
wanted
guy,
to be
never seen
included in
him.
the first place, or even linking to the channel or anyone else's channels until I brought it up. It just... Maybe that's not how it was intended, and I'm sorry if it wasn't. But when you're directly on the other side of something like this, it's real stuff. This affects your life and your friends who have already been through so much already. So, yeah, I got emotional. I'm still emotional.
I'm feeling
and I'm not
strong.
going to apologize for that. What I will apologize for is that I didn't need to bring all of you into it. In retrospect, none of it makes any sense without context anyways, and more importantly, it's just not your business. You guys saw it as a nice gesture, but to me, it hurt. And ultimately, that's my problem. So for that, I am sorry. That's not what you're here for, and I should have taken a moment to my head, and for a while there of that. I look forward to hopefully seeing some content, and remember if it's Wannick 4, I think that's right. And look, at some point, maybe I'll collaborate with LTT again. It's not like we don't share common interests or potentially have ways to help each other. And I'm grateful for everything they did for me, and I'm hopeful for the future for everyone there. But now that I've got this off my chest,
he left. Oh my
I
God.
am closing this LMG chapter of my life and turning the page back to what's coming next. Because in retrospect, leaving was the best decision I have ever made. I now get to work on whatever interests me most. Still work with some of the friends I made along the way, and
more
probably see some more
likable
collabs there. And I get to share it with all
guys.
of you. I am incredibly fortunate to be able to do so, and it's because all of you, and of course,
He was like one of the okay, here is a product, here is the script, and talk about it.
because of my time at LMG. So thank you. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I don't know what else I can do to show my appreciation other than to continue to try to make really good content. So if you're looking to support this new adventure, I appreciate you. Get subscribed and maybe check out my Patreon, which I'll have linked down in the description, where you can watch the...
I mean, look at this, 700k.